It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Welcome back to I Want That Too, the podcast where Disney merch meets Disney history. I'm entertainment writer Jim Hill, and as always, I'm joined by the lovely Lauren Hersey. So, how are you this fine day, Lauren?
Doing fantastic. Just about to pack for Disneyland. I'm so super excited about that. How about you, sir?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because, again, when this show goes live, that is, March 12th, which is my 67th
birthday.
67th birthday. That's right. I am officially really old.
And what are we going to do for your birthday? Where are we going to be?
Well, I do. Where are we in Vegas that day or
no,
Disney?
We're at Universal Studios Hollywood.
Oh, well, there we go. All right. We'll go down to, we'll tell you what, for Hunter, we'll go down to Mario, Super Mario World, and Toad's Cafe and see what we can do down there. Kind of a 1-2 punch of, we'll have a nice birthday dinner and see if there's something cool Mario we can get for Hunter.
All right. Well, we will keep you posted on that. We've got some fun stories that we're going to cover out there and something special that I think Jim and I are going to try to do in Vegas. But anyways, back to today. We have a lot coming up in today's show. So we're going to look at a new practical piece of merch that princess fans are going to love. And it is not the Bath & Body Works line. We're going to talk about a new exclusive D23 tour designed for Walt's biggest fans. And we're going to give you a sneak peek at the merch heading this year, coming your way for this year's Flower and Garden Festival. And later in the show, Jim is going to be unpacking part 2 of how the struggling shopping village of what is now Disney Springs turned into Pleasure Island, then Downtown Disney, and finally the 120-acre Disney Springs that we know and love today. But before we get into that, let's thank our sponsor.
Absolutely. And this episode of I Want That Too is brought to you by our friends at unlockmagic.com, the go-to place for some of the best deals on theme park tickets. If a Disney or Universal trip is anywhere on your radar for 2026, Unlock Magic helps you lock in great ticket prices without the stress, all handled by people who really know the parks and, more importantly, know how to save you money. So if you're thinking, okay, maybe this is the year that we finally go, head to unlockmagic.com to grab the best ticket deals and make that future trip just a little bit more magical. And don't wait. Run, move fast, do it. And speaking of running and moving fast, we've got some runDisney related news here, right?
Yes. Well, so runDisney and Brooks unveiled their 2026 Disney Princess Half Marathon Weekend collection. And so what does this mean? We are getting limited edition Disney Princess inspired Brooks shoes.
Okay.
I live for Brooks. I feel like we talk about them every time, so I didn't want to exclude our princesses. But we've got Mickey and Minnie. That was their first special line. And then we got Stitch, I think, in our last one. And now we're getting some princesses. So we're getting 3 princesses with this line. So we're getting Rapunzel, Belle, and Moana. Not sure Belle, but Beauty and the Beast has an anniversary, right, this year?
Yes.
Or on Broadway? Which one was
it? 35th anniversary.
Okay,
You're right. November 1991. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
and we're getting a Tangled movie, and obviously we're getting live action Moana this summer. So, like, just connecting dots. But if you're Brooks fans, so Rapunzel is going to be on the Go 17. It's going to have braided laces inspired by her hair and some lantern motifs. I was looking, I saw these first. I was just scrolling on my phone last night, and I saw them on Instagram Reels, and then I kept getting served all of these videos. Like, they're so cute. So these ones are $170, and then moving on to Belle, these are like glycerin 23, and these are the gold gown inspired and has, some rose graphics. And then moving on to Miss Moana, these are Adrenaline GTS shoes, and the color and designer tied to her ocean journey. These are adorable. They're available at the Health and Fitness Expo beginning on the 26th. And as always, these are limited quantities. So maybe don't walk, run if you're interested in these.
Can I bring up just one teeny tiny itty bitty point here? Okay, we've had 2 Moana movies so far. Near as I can figure, in neither of those movies, Moana wears shoes. She's
Touche.
I'm just saying, I mean, just don't get me wrong. I know there are Moana fans out there, and I'm sure get a color palette or that sort of thing. But it's just sort of like, really, you looked at all of the Disney princesses and went, yeah, the one that's barefoot. Let's make shoes for her.
Yeah, but we get like T-shirts and sweatshirts and toys, and like she was wearing like a loincloth and like a piece of fabrics, like so.
Okay.
I support it.
All right. So, and again, these are not inexpensive shoes. I mean, what is it? Rapunzel's 170, Moana's 175, Belle's 185. But it's worth noting that just registering for the Disney Princess Half Marathon, it's a tad pricey, yes?
Yeah, and I've talked before, like things that we spend money on because we are bougie on a budget, is like anything between us and the ground. So I do still I justify the price for the Brooks, and they're adorable. But the price for the general registration for the Princess Half Marathon, $259 to $269, and I think that is why people get so salty whenever the merch pirates come and they buy up all the merch. Like they've paid the big money to be there, and then you can't even get a T-shirt or maybe some shoes.
Well, now, and speaking of pricey, as we move to our second news item of this week, the Walt's Los Angeles tour that D23 has just launched. Pricey, yes?
Yes, but so let me tell you about it, and then you tell me if the price is justifiable, because I almost feel like maybe it is. So first and foremost, this is a premium experience for gold members only of D23. This is the Walt Los Angeles tour. And so it is a guided tour that offers a look at locations tied directly to Walt Disney's life and legacy just across the LA area. So the experience starts with breakfast on the Walt Disney Studios lot in Burbank, followed by a visit to Walt Disney's historic office suite and the studio's legendary ink and paint department. And then participants will also get to tour Walt Disney's Imagineering creative campus over in Glendale, where Mr. Scholl has spent lots and lots of years. And that's where you're going to get lunch. And then there's some additional stops at Walt's Carolwood Barn and several sites that are significant to the founding of the Walt Disney Company. So it sounds like a jam-packed itinerary. I think it even takes you to one of Walt's former homes.
Yeah. I think we've actually talked about this on a podcast because I was lucky enough to get to tour this home. In fact, this was the house where Walt raised Diane and Sharon, and only opted to get his Holmby Hills home when Diane started to learn to drive, and Walt was kind of terrified about his daughter dealing with the steep driveway at this house. But it also mentions that you get a private dinner at one of Walt's favorite restaurants, and I have to assume that's the Tam O'Shanter, just across the way from Warner Brothers Studios. So, and this also, again, includes a retail component, right?
Yes, and I'm hoping that we're gonna, get out to the Disney Studios store, the Walt Disney Company store, and Mickey's of Glendale when we are out in California, because we do have some friends. But so, what do you think, Jim, for the price? Would you pay for it, or what are you thinking?
Well, look, all right. I mean, realistically, if this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing that you're doing and you're a Disney fan that really wants to, go to places where Walt actually went, I guess I could justify this. I mean, I'm not going to lie. A number of the things that are on this list, I've already done. In fact, I think one of the only things I haven't done on this is the recreation of Walt's office at the studio.
Yeah, so I think it's super cool. I don't know about the price, but I do think it's really cool. And so this is your D23 PSA, that if you are currently a gold member, there are lots of different events and experiences that you can participate in. So I highly recommend going to the site. There's different, discounts and merch. But the biggest, to me, perk of being a gold member is that you could possibly get tickets for the D23 fan convention that is slated for August 14th to the 16th. And they're saying that tickets go on sale, I'm giving you air quotes, this spring, but I'm assuming March. I think that, the year before last, that was around the time. So this is your PSA. So if you're planning to maybe want to attend and get tickets, this is the time you need to renew your gold pass. And if you are a Disney Plus subscriber, I talk about this all the time. I was just telling Chris Cox about it. You can go to perks.disneyplus.com and get yourself a complimentary gold membership. But they are one per household, which we had to learn the hard way over here in the Hersey house. They discontinued their duo membership, so I just had to renew my own gold member pass. So there are a couple different options here, and they tie to really the merch. So you can just get your D23 gold membership kit, and you're gonna get a sticker and a pass. Like, I have to go up and open mine. You get like a discount card and a certificate. But then if you jump to the next level, then you get to pick. There is Oswald ears, there's a backpack, there's a cool button-down shirt, some pins, a Sorcerer Mickey figure, and then I think it's like $159. You can actually pick you'll get all 4 of those premium items. But if you want to go to the convention, maybe see Gemini out there, get your gold pass now.
Okay. I gotta say, the button-down shirt, I look at that, and I know we're not allowed to talk about John Lasseter anymore, but that's a John Lasseter shirt, right? I mean,
it's totally a John Lasseter shirt.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. I have a number of those in my wardrobe already. So, speaking of things I could be adding to my wardrobe, as we look ahead now to Epcot, to the International Flower and Garden Festival, which, dear Lord, gets underway this week, right?
Yes. And I'm like, man, that just seems fast. But it does go through June 1st of 2026 over at Epcot, if you want to hit up Flower and Garden. So this week, Disney was so gracious to give us a sneak peek at some of the new merch coming to the festival.
And Orange Bird, what a surprise, in the spotlight again.
But can you can get a citrus swirl at Epcot, Jim, before we get into the merch?
I want to say that you were able to do this at the Odyssey at one of the Flower and Gardens. I don't know if it's coming back this year in that location, but yeah, I got to assume. I gotta.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody knows, please tell us. Because the citrus swirl makes an appearance on some of this Orange Bird merch. But this is what we're seeing. So first and foremost, and when I'm talking about this orange, like imagine it as creamsicle orange, and not like that bright orange, like the spirit jersey I sent you, Jim.
Yeah, I was about to say that compared to
hunting orange.
Hunting orange, yes. This is definitely a quieter shade of orange. So
yeah. So as I'm talking about that, just envision that. So there's a hat which I love, and I would like to pick one of these up. But it is the creamsicle orange with just Orange Bird's face on the top, and then we're looking at this new spirit jersey, and this is a small picture, Jim. But if you go into it a little bit, Orange Bird is wearing these really cute sunglasses, and it is reflecting spaceship Earth in the sunglasses. It's so cute.
Okay.
So that is on looks like the right breast side of the spirit jersey, and then on the back, it's the Epcot International Flower and Garden Festival, and you're seeing the spaceship Earth that looks kind of like a topiary. And if you again look a little bit closer, you will see the citrus swirl making an appearance on the spirit jersey. But we were talking about button-down shirts, Jim. Do you think John Lasseter would wear this Orange Bird button-down?
What is Orange Bird? I mean, it's the walk-around character version of Orange Bird, right, on this shirt?
Yes, it actually looks like there's a person in this Orange Bird get-up. I don't know how I feel about it.
No, they trust me on this. They actually did this. They created a walk around of Orange Bird back in '71 for the park, for the Sunshine Pavilion, and it looked bad then, and it looks bad now.
Yes, it does. Thank you for saying it. Oh my gosh. Okay, but anyway, so if you like 71 Orange Bird character walk around, this might be your vibe. But if not, we are also going to get Spike the Bee, and we've got Spike the Bee, for the last, few years. He's very cute. The only thing that I can see right now is the lounge fly. That actually looks like maybe it has a shoulder strap by Loungefly. Yeah. So I like the Flower and Garden ears. They have it looks almost like a terry cloth bow, and they're like grass green and orange. And then we did get a sneak peek at some of the pass holder merch. So the pass holder merch, I mean, nothing really to write home about. Blue shirt, says pass holder, green crossbody, and a matching hat. We're also hearing that there will be a limited release pin, which is going to be Spike the Bee, a mug, and a magnet.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to lie. The pass holder graphic is nice. I mean,
it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, there we go. Could we sound more tepid, folks? Okay, so.
Oh my gosh, Jim. Okay, so we keep talking about me going to California, and I love the Disney food blog, and shout out to AJ, and check out her new book about Disney adults. Very, very good. But I couldn't sleep, and I'm watching the Disney food blog, videos on YouTube back to back, prepping for the trip. And did you know that there is a food and wine festival at Disneyland, in California Adventure?
The weird thing is they've tried this on and off. And remember, this is the 25th, this year is the 25th anniversary of the opening of California Adventure. And it's nice to see it back again. And in fact, It will be interesting to wander the park and see how they do the setup here, because again, unlike Epcot, they don't have a lot of these permanent show kitchens set up. So it's a lot of temporary facilities around the park. But this time around, what is it? It starts later on this week, March 6th.
It starts the day we get there, unfortunately. But I think there's going to be a lot of like bloggers and stuff, content creators. But I did from AJ, she said that oftentimes in California, if you go the day before, they do like a soft launch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that would be Thursday, March 5th, and it goes until April 27th. And it seems very similar to Epcot as far as having the booths. There are some new ones this year that include California Craft Brews, Cluck-a-Doodle-Doo Moo. I'm interested in that. Garlic Kissed. I don't know if Eric would appreciate a garlic kiss, but Golden Dreams, LA Style. So there's, several new items. And I'm looking forward to this like steak mac and cheese. That looks really good. Eric, if you follow him on social media, he puts pictures of like what he's doing, and he eats ramen every day. Like, this is ramen mac and cheese. Like, I'm wondering if that's like ramen noodles or like ramen flavored mac and cheese.
Well, I don't know. But,
yeah.
Okay.
But I have to say, so this is the most exciting thing that AJ said, that like if you go to any of these booths, that you can just pay in advance and like then just go and grab your item versus going and paying and waiting in line for each one. And then when I was doing the research for the show, I saw this like Sip and Savor Pass, which might be new for this year. So it is a digital pass that lets visitors redeem credits for either 4 or 8 food or drink items at participating marketplaces. And the best part about the Sip and Savor Pass is that you get this adorable complimentary Goofy plate while supplies last. What do you think of this plate? I love it.
I gotta say, I love the Goofy graphic, and also, so the ears on this thing, I'm assuming one is for the beverage and one is for my dessert cup. Does that sound right?
Oh my gosh, yes. Unless you're double fisting with either dessert or drink. But it's so clever. And during the festival, there are some beverage education and tasting seminars going on at the Sonoma Terrace on the weekends, and then pairing, expert insights and curated sips and appetizers. So reservations are recommended for that. I am super excited. I'll have to give you an update because we've got to taste all the things, and because we're there when it opens, I really, really would love one of these cute little plates.
Okay. Well, again, keep us posted on what you can achieve. I'm not getting to town until after you guys do Disney, and in fact, I don't think I'm making it over to the parks till closer to St. Patrick's Day. So maybe the plates will be gone by then, but yeah, we'll have lots to share after we get back from this trip. But speaking of getting back after this break, we're going to continue our feature story about Disney Springs. But before we do that, there's this.
Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
And we're back. And as Lauren just mentioned off air, we're picking up the story of Disney Springs where her boyfriend...
That is what I said.
One Michael D. Eisner enters the picture.
I love him. He makes everything better.
Well, now, just to be specific, folks, we're picking up September of 1984. Michael has just been installed as the new CEO of Disney. And again, at Disney, the Walt Disney World Shopping Village is still seriously underperforming. And the managers there try all sorts of things to sort of boost attendance. They do boat shows. They do trick-or-treating. So if you go store to store, you get candy. They even do a live nativity, Lauren, with full-sized animals.
Wow.
It was wild. I attended it a couple of years. But Eisner turns to the Imagineers and is like, all right. And by the way, at this point, the Disney Shopping Village at this point is only 55 acres. So only 55. But again, 37 shops for restaurants. And Michael's like, what are you going to do? How do we get more people to come to this part of the property? And the managers come back and they have dreamed up Pleasure Island. So July of 1986, company announces that this 6-acre, $60 million nighttime entertainment district is going to be built next to the shopping village. And they don't say the quiet part out loud, but this is largely because in downtown Orlando at this point, there was Church Street Station, which was this hugely popular nighttime entertainment district that people who were vacationing at Walt Disney World would literally finish their day in the park, go back to their hotel, climb in their rental car, and then drive downtown so they could do Church Street. So Disney was looking to circumvent that. Anyway, May 1st, 1989, Pleasure Island opens. And by the way, Empress Lily, the steamboat, is now supposedly part of the Pleasure Island mythology. In fact, it's supposedly something that Meriwether Pleasure, the founder of Pleasure Island, bought and used to travel the waterways around Florida. And in addition to the nightclubs, there was, of course, the AMC Theater. And again, the notion was we want both the folks who are vacationing at Walt Disney World as well as Orlando locals to come out. And by the way, worth noting here, Lauren, when Disney designed Pleasure Island, the initial thinking was that this is a chain. In fact, yep.
Pleasure Island's a chain?
A chain. In fact, what's kind of interesting is if I have news reports from the late 80s, early 90s, where teams of Imagineers went to Philadelphia, to Penn's Landing, to scope out whether or not they could build one there. Likewise, they were looking around the waterfront in Boston. In fact, right now, in the part of Boston that's become a crazy fashionable, place to live. But then it was, Anthony's Pier 4 and lots of eyesores. And this was where Disney was looking to build. And by the way, there was also a version of Pleasure Island that was supposed to be part of the Westcott project out in California. But that didn't go forward because Pleasure Island, it had problems attracting folks. In fact, this is when they began doing the do you remember hearing about how it was New Year's Eve every night at Pleasure Island?
Yes, I do.
Okay. That got launched during the same time. Disney changed the admission pricing, hoping that would make people come out to Pleasure Island. Around the same time, by the way, is when the Walt Disney World Shopping Village got rebranded as the Disney Village Marketplace. But none of this is moving the needle, Lauren. And so Disney now starts to, it's like we're now in the early 90s, and it's like, all right, well, let's just try some stuff. Let's see if that moves the needle. So December of 1994, we get Planet Hollywood gets built, the big round building there with seats for 500 folks. Then the very next summer, June of 1995, this is when Disney announces that they're going to expand their Disney Village, marketplace. In fact, they're going to rebrand. They're going to create a place called Downtown Disney, and as part of Downtown Disney, they're going to build the West Side, which is going to add 66 acres of shops and and such. Then August of 1996, we get the Rainforest Cafe. And what's kind of interesting about this, Lauren, is you can see with Planet Hollywood, you can see with Rainforest Cafe, Disney's now leaning on outside companies that have established names to come in and try to make, Downtown Disney more exciting. So October of 97, we get the Lego Imagination Center opening, there in the marketplace. And then by November of that same year, we finally get the whole West Side open. And now we're now up to 120 acres of shops, restaurants, and the like, and they're really pushing this as more of an urban entertainment area, with the hope that will get people to drive in from Orlando to check out Downtown Disney. And you talked earlier on in today's show about Disney Quest. Well, June of 1998, that's when Disney Quest got started. But that was five floors of interactive stuff. And then December of that same year, 1998, we get La Nuba. And by the way, that was the first permanent standing Cirque du Soleil setup. Did you ever get to see La Nuba while it was running, or?
No, not La Nuba, no.
Okay. Well, anyway, jumping ahead now to August of 2002, Once Upon a Toy opens, and we talked about that store when we did Duffy a few months back. And then October of 2005, we get Raglan Road, the Irish pub and restaurant. But here's the thing, Lauren, they keep trying just one new thing to try to get people to come out. And they don't. It just, they maybe sometimes get a temporary bump, but it always slides back. So right now, it's more a case of Disney looking and going, we got to do something bigger. We got to do something grander. And what that is, we'll talk about in a sec. But first, this. And we're back. All right. So again, Lauren, where we left off, Downtown Disney just still is not working. And Disney World management is like, all right, we got to do something. We got to do something different. What's going to move the needle here? And so June of 2008, they make an announcement that to this day still hurts some Disney fans, myself included. They announced that Pleasure Island will be closing, and that 6-acre area goes dark September 27th of that same year. And though, I want to say this, a lot of folks stood in very long lines to be the very last people in the Adventurers Club at Pleasure Island. And I always like to point out to those folks who stood in 3 and 4 hour lines that 2 days later, after the club had officially closed, my friend Max Schilling, months ahead of time, had booked his bachelor party at the Adventurers Club, and Disney, to its credit, honored the contract. And so, 2 days after, with much hoopla, the club closed, we were in there. There were only, I want to say, 30 of us in the building.
Wow.
And what was interesting is that a number of the cast members came out and actually performed in the venue. And they were talking about how they loved that they got to do this. That, the thing was that when the club closed. It was so packed with people, and in fact, they actually showed the last shows outside. They projected them, for folks who couldn't get in, and it was too crazy. It was too hoopla, and what they loved is that they got to get back into the club with a small audience. And by the way, most of Max's relatives had never been in the Adventurers Club, so all of the illusions, all of the shows were brand new to them, and they reacted like, "This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life."
As it's closing.
Yeah, well, it's closed at that point, and they were like, "I love that this is how I get to say goodbye. I get to come back in here when it's quiet and with people who've never seen it before." And but anyway, all right. So if we jump ahead now to November of 2010, we learned that where Pleasure Island was in downtown Disney, it's now going to be turned into a vibrant waterfront district that's going to be called Hyperion Wharf. And there's some art out there. Folks can go take a look at it if they want. And it's a reimagining of this section of, the shopping and dining district. So it's now more of a early 20th century port city, an amusement pier. And so they were looking to bring some boutiques and some innovative restaurants in here, and the idea was that it was from a time in American history when electric lights had just come in. In fact, did you ever see that episode of The Gilded Age on HBO where they showed, you're in New York City when they first turned on electric lights?
No. Well, I mean, I'm sure I saw it because I've watched all the Gilded Age. But I'm wondering, where, the Edison is? That's kind of what it reminded me of.
Okay. No, it was an amazing moment, and that's what you were supposed to get at night, that they were going to, hey, come on down to the area. We just got electric lights and we're about to turn them on.
That's so cool. But I don't remember hearing about this, so I'm assuming that didn't happen, or it did?
Well, okay. It was, construction was supposed to get underway in 2011. But here's what happened. Just before Disney announced plans for this, Bob Iger made Jay Rizzullo, who is the head of Disney Parks, switch jobs with Tom Staggs, who was the CFO of Disney. The notion was that Iger was trying to decide who he was going to replace himself with. And so, he thought that Jay needed more experience on the business side of Disney, and Tom, who'd only worked finances, needed to be exposed to the park. But here's the thing. Tom looks at the Hyperion Wharf project and finds it lacking. And by the way, he did the exact same thing with New Fantasyland. He's the reason we got Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. He looked at the meet and greets that were supposed to go into that part of the park, and it's like, I have boys. They're not going to go for this. Get me something else. And that's the thing. He looked at what was going into Pleasure Island. And by the way, they're demoing the buildings. When Tom goes, no, I need something else. So by January of 2013, we learn that something really big is in the works for the former site of Pleasure Island. In fact, then it's like, no. This is for all of downtown Disney. And by March of 2013, this is when Disney reveals its plans for Disney Springs. And we've moved beyond just changing out the 6 acres that Pleasure Island sat on. It's now for the entire complex. And by the way, we're going to go from having now 75 restaurants and retail locations to over 150 different ways to shop, dine, and play. So the new vision for Disney Springs is it's now going to be broken into 4 different neighborhoods: the Marketplace, the Landing, Town Center, and West Side. And this expansion, with its now, again, over 150, different things, is going to need more room. So it's going to eat the existing downtown Disney parking lot, which is why 2 brand new multi-story parking garages have to be built so that they then have space for 6,000 cars, Lauren. But anyway, again, project gets announced in March of 2013. Construction gets underway in April of that same year, 2013, with the targeted opening date of 2016. So before we continue here, Lauren, do you have a favorite neighborhood over at Disney Springs?
So would it be, I feel like we spent a lot of time at the landing, and then where the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique was and the Lego store, what's that area? That's where we normally...
Well, no, the landing is definitely, in fact, isn't the landing where the Ravens is going to go, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. The landing at Disney Springs, that opened in phases in late 2014. In fact, the orange garage with its 4,000 spaces opened in November of that same year. And then the thing that I love about this changed version of Downtown Disney, the Causeway, that opened in February of 2015. I always hated, if you were, over by Pleasure Island and a friend said, "Hey, let's do dinner at Rainforest," and it's like, oh God, I have to walk around this entire place.
Right.
And now the Causeway, gave, you have a piece of straight pipe from T-Rex from the Lego store right over to the Rainforest Cafe. And
I still feel like for as many times as I've been there that I still get turned around and lost, like when I'm looking for specific things.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. It doesn't have the cleanest, clearest design, and a lot of that is, again, building on the back of, what was first put in there in 75. But on the other hand, you had, big, wonderful new venues like the Boathouse coming online in 2015, April of that year. And we talked at the very start of the series about Morimoto Asia, that comes into the inventory at Disney Springs in late 2015. And speaking of that window of time, this is when the complex officially gets its new name, or at least they change all of the signage to Disney Springs.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Anyway, Town Center opens mid-May of 2016 along with the Lime Garage. And as we mentioned, starting the series, that in late 2016, we finally got the highway ramp that came straight off of I-4 into the orange parking garage, not to mention the expanding Buena Vista Drive, which is the on-property road that if you're in a rental car, that's how you're typically getting over to Disney Springs. And what's kind of interesting is right now, I don't know if you've been following this, but is it the Lime Garage that's being retooled now? Because all I hear from friends who are complaining about the fact that, I only have the one garage and, I can't get in it. And I have to park, on the surface parking over next to Cirque du Soleil, Drawn to Life. And you
don't want to park there and have to walk. Like the Lime Garage is so convenient and like central.
Yeah. So, but that is supposed to come online in mid-March or thereabouts. They've been doing some work there, but yeah. So there you go, folks. That is the protracted history of Disney Springs, and now. But again, it's a fascinating side of the company that they continue to tinker with. Just from what we were talking about that pop-up shake store, that they're hoping it turns into a permanent thing, right?
Yeah. And even Downtown Disney over in California, there's major construction there to add some new restaurants and Portos. Yeah, so big developments continuing to happen, but loved the story, all because we're getting fancy milkshakes at Disney Springs. That, you folks, is how this show comes together.
There we go. And like I said earlier, I can look at the fancy milkshakes. I don't know if I can partake, but it'll be a spectator sport for me. But
Yes. All right, Jim. But I think that that does it for this episode. We should close up shop here today.
Okay, that works for me. Oh, by the way, folks, if you want to keep up on everything that's happening across the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network, please follow us on social. And don't forget to check out our Patreon for bonus shows and early access.
Yes, and if you've got questions or an idea for a future episode, we love to hear from you. Shoot us a message at jim@jimhillmedia.com, and I can be found at lauren@laurenhersey.com.
And if you like the show, leave us a quick review or rating. It helps other Disney fans find I Want That Too.
Yep, that does it for today's episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on I Want That Too.